as we smoke the peace pipe here. If it's on the table, I'm taking Davante Adams, even if he's older, all day over Brandon Aiyuk. If that is a trade that is willing to happen, do that all day.
All right, so there's a rumor out there on Twitter, and this is why I want to get
It's
Q
a
on.
rumor, it's fake.
Lubbock told me, goes, look, the rumor is so ridiculous. I don't think it's even worth debunking the rumor. We don't know anything right now. I've seen no Raider fans, or no Raider beat writers, I should say, bring up the fact that Davante Adams is on the table for Brandon Aiyuk. Because as much as I love Brandon Aiyuk, I mean, I would be interested to hear what football fan or what 49er fan would not do a deal for Davante Adams for Brandon Aiyuk. Hell, Brandon Aiyuk would even say, yeah, the 49ers should do that deal. Brandon Aiyuk would say that. Yeah, they should trade me for Davante Adams.
He'd give you the red zone threat that you haven't had basically since Anquan Bolden left, in terms of a wide receiver who could split out and high point a ball in traffic. Now, Aiyuk does a great job getting open. He's had some really dynamic catches in the end zone. Like the one against Philadelphia, I think we forgot. That throw from Purdy wasn't perfect. It was good spot on where he threw it because he threw away from the defender. Aiyuk making the adjustment, catching it at his ankles, dropping the way he did was unbelievable.
What about
Davante's just a different player.
Yeah, he's a different beast.
He's a very different player.
I was going to add on to Brandon Aiyuk. What about the play that Kyle Shanahan did not want Brock Purdy to basically construct the Seattle game on Thanksgiving night, where there was like 4 defenders around Brandon Aiyuk, and Brock Purdy threads a needle. Boom, Brandon Aiyuk. Boom, touchdown. Pittsburgh Steelers, quick slant, score a touchdown. Boom. There you go.
They're both separation monsters.
Yeah, Detroit game. We forget about the quick slant on 3rd and 5. Yeah. Remember 3rd and 5? When we were like, oh my God, are they not going to score a touchdown here? Brock Purdy's looking. As Aiyuk runs a perfect slant. Boom, touchdown. So Aiyuk has become a red zone threat, but yeah, he's not Davante Adams. Davante Adams is different. He's on a different level. He's one
of the few that you would trade him for, right?
Exactly.
There's not many.
I mean, who are you trading Brandon Aiyuk for?
Justin Jefferson.
Okay.
Right? Like you're talking about money's not a factor.
Money's not an it's just straight player for player.
Even though Tyreek is not the greatest human being, I'd probably do it for Tyreek is unbelievable.
He's unbelievable.
Right?
It's Tyreek and Devo.
I'm going to throw Jamar Chase in there. Some people might not. I watched Jamar Chase at Levi's. He's a special player.
They came out of halftime.
He's a special player.
They ran a back shoulder fade with T. Higgins, incomplete. They ran it to next play.
Very close.
I mean, they're close, but Jamar Chase is special.
So we're talking about a couple of guys.
We're talking about a couple guys.
Jefferson. I personally would take Amon-Ra St. Brown over Aiyuk, but I'm not mad at someone. Like, we're splitting hairs. They're very close, but I could see why someone else would take Aiyuk. I'm leaning Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'd probably take, even though he's more of a malcontent in the locker room by all reports, I'm probably taking A.J. Brown over Brandon Aiyuk. Although there is something about being a good teammate, and I don't think AJ's the greatest teammate when things go wrong.
And the production is not, it's not far off from where Aiyuk produced last year. We're splitting hairs because
we are splitting. We're talking about 4 or 5 guys.
Right. Aiyuk made a second team All-Pro. There's 6 wide receivers who make the All-Pro teams, first and second team. So at worst, if you want to say, well, Aiyuk, he's not a top 10 wide receiver. Well, the NFL told you he's one of the top 6 receivers.
Yes.
And if he's number 6, damn it, we got the number 6 receiver in the league. So you're telling me we got the number 6 wide receiver in the league, one of the top 5 tight ends, the best running back, one of the top playmakers in Deebo Samuel, the best left tackle. I mean, what else? Brock Purdy, and I'm seeing all these top 10 lists. This is where we get a little goofy.
He's not even in any of them.
These top 10 lists, people are just like, no problem whatsoever not putting Brock Purdy. Like, I keep seeing Justin Herbert top 5. I'm like, I need to see it, especially this year. Spinoni sees him twice a year. Justin Herbert. Yeah. I mean, he's got all the tools, right? Yeah. But you saw him at Cal. Yeah. I mean, the Oregon. Now, he's gotten better since the Oregon days, but he's done nothing yet.
Well, and the other guy that in the 650 is texting us in right now, I have an infatuation with big, strong guys. DK Metcalf is someone I would absolutely take over Aiyuk. Though I also acknowledge DK is a hothead. And on a team where we're going to spread the ball around, what would DK's demeanor be like if he didn't get the big bulk of the looks in a game that they're losing? And we know how he is. But that's also baked into Davante now. We're now learning that about Davante Adams.
You know what's crazy about DK? I remember the draft. It was him and Deebo. We had a conversation. I was going to a watch party at Nick's Crispy Tacos, and I was like, Shasky, I don't want DK. I want Deebo. I was screaming for Deebo Samuel during that draft.
Cone drill. Remember when everyone said about DK? The three-cone drill. I said there were 3 players in that draft I would take in the top 5. Kyler, Bosa, and DK.
DK was great.
Not bad.
DK was great.
Not bad.
I mean, Kyler and DK, I mean, a lot of people, I was thinking, what if the Niners had the number 1 pick that year? Like, if we're going to get goopy with hypotheticals.
If
they had the number 1 pick, would the Niners have selected Kyler over Nick Bosa?
I think Kyler would have been dynamic in a let me do the stretch play action, sprint back out boot stuff that Kyle loves to do.
Now, you think about Aiyuk's year last season.
God, can you imagine what that would look like?
I know. I've thought about it a lot. And he could play all the Call of Duty he wants to. We got EA Sports right down the road.
You imagine?
Hell, we could build you an apartment at EA Sports, Kyler, in Silicon Valley. All good.
The defense is out on the field, and instead of a blue tent, we've got like a red tent for him to play Call of Duty.
Live, with the internet, Wi-Fi, and everything. We can do it all. But DK's been special. He's been really, really good. The most yards he's ever had this season is 1,303. Aiyuk eclipsed that last year. Hell, the last 2 years, Aiyuk's had more receiving yards than DK Metcalf.
Does anyone think that Seattle has been a more dynamic offense just in general?
No, they haven't.
And
they
like
haven't.
Geno Smith,
they haven't. They
Maybe
haven't.
I'm downplaying Geno.
They haven't. They haven't. CeeDee Lamb and it's funny. Somebody's 6'8" too. It's in the mobile text line.
And CeeDee and Aiyuk are splitting hairs.
So look, check this out. So Dallas was number 1 in pass attempts last season. They which is crazy. Maybe they were behind in some games. I don't remember every one of their games. But they attempted 37 passes per game last year. 37 and a half, but really 37. What, a half a pass attempt? What is that?
I don't know.
The Niners, yeah, exactly. Niners were 30th, right, with 30 pass attempts per game. So I'm looking at CeeDee Lamb, and I've been monitoring this because trust me, when CeeDee Lamb was in the draft, and I remember Guru, somebody actually did, I remember Guru to this day during that draft. The Niners, it was a Bugatti and CeeDee Lamb, and they got, what did he call Brandon Aiyuk? The Chrysler 300. Called him the Chrysler 300, right? But you look at the last 43 regular season games that both of these guys have played. CeeDee Lamb has had 400 targets in the last 43 regular season games. Aiyuk has had 280 targets. 120 less targets, fewer targets than CeeDee Lamb. 196 receptions for Aiyuk, 282.
But wouldn't you say that when you're game planning a defense to stop the Dallas Cowboys, it starts with CeeDee Lamb?
No doubt.
Because at least the last few years.
Right.
Because I don't think Tony Pollard scared people that much, and I don't think that their tight end or their opposite wide receiver. Yeah. And maybe I'm misreading this, but
I'm fascinated because Dallas throws the ball a lot more than the 49ers.
They do.
And CeeDee has 3,600 receiving yards. Aiyuk has 3,042. In an offense where we take a lot of calls, and you could argue that maybe he's the 4th option on a given Sunday.
Would the Dallas Cowboys trade CeeDee Lamb straight up for Aiyuk?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
But would the Niners trade Aiyuk straight up for CeeDee Lamb?
See, that I don't think so either. I think this is one of those similar situations where both teams feel good about the player that they have.
And we're talking about a first-team All-Pro with CeeDee Lamb, and we're talking about a second-team All-Pro with Brandon Aiyuk. So Aiyuk is somewhere in the middle. We're going to get to all the sound, what he said on the Pivot podcast. And, one thing we missed yesterday, we're going back and forth, because we all want the same thing. We all want the damn Super Bowl. And I don't, for the people who, let's just get rid of Aiyuk, he's crying. We know what it's like to have first-round picks at the wide receiver position. It hasn't always worked out. Second-round picks hasn't always worked out. We finally got something that popped. We got the best duo at wide receiver. They've had a longer stretch than Bolden and Crabtree. T.O. and Jerry Rice, that was damn near 30 years ago. So we're coming to, what was 97, 98, 99, whatever it was. These guys, they've developed Aiyuk. He's become a baller. Now, we don't know about Ricky Pearsall. Hell, he's hurt right now. We don't even know what the injury is.
That was wild.
Right? We don't even know about Ricky Pearsall yet. So before we say, we got Ricky Pearsall, at one point we got Jalen Hurd. Oh, we got Dante Pettis. Well, we got Trent Taylor, Richie James Jr. Remember, people at Niners training camp was talking about, oh my God, the short area quickness of Trent Taylor. He's putting on the show in training camp. Then he almost dies on Thursday Night Football against the LA Rams, and we never heard from him ever again. Who, by the way, I think is on the roster right now. Trent Taylor.
Yeah,
is he back in camp?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Shanahan loves him. So I'm just not quick to give up Brandon Aiyuk, and hopefully they make some. But one thing we forgot yesterday is that the Niners weren't just trying to trade Brandon Aiyuk or taking calls on Brandon Aiyuk. They were also taking calls on Deebo Samuel. And it kind of feels like Steph and Monte, right? Where the Warriors basically told the Bucks, have your pick. You want Steph, you want Monte. And the Bucks are like, well, Steph's got bad ankles. We're taking Monte. He's a borderline all-star. And the rest is history. It feels like the Niners basically did the same thing this offseason. It was like, we're not really interested in trading either of these guys, but we will listen. to not only Brandon Aiyuk, but also Deebo Samuel?
Well, I think that they've looked at it, and I feel like their assessment of team building is, well, we've got McCaffrey under contract probably for 2 years. We're looking at 2 years. Beyond that, who knows? 2 years. Kittle, 2 years. We can bite the bullet, and that'll cost you about $30 to $35 million for those two players. But we got to get cheaper on the outside. Whether that's one or both of those guys going, we've got to get cheaper. Every move they've made in this offseason, to me, screams that they were shopping one, if not both of those guys, right? You bring back Jennings. You bring back Trent Taylor. You draft 2 wide receivers. You know, you're dangling these guys. There's lots of reports. You know, you're telling basically Deebo Samuel, yeah, we did field calls about you. So to me, they're telling me that as a business model, they have set themselves up to try to move off those guys and their price tag because they know that they have to get cheaper out there.
Yep. And it also tells me this, Shask, is that they were willing to live life without either one of these guys.
I think so.
If push came to shove. So when it comes to who do the 49ers value more, Deebo or Aiyuk or Kittle or McCaffrey, what told me that they value both, but they were willing to trade both. So what is the importance of Deebo? What is the importance of Brandon Aiyuk? Forget the receiver doc where they're like, oh, half our gameplay with Deebo Samuel. Well, is that the case? Why are you fielding calls on Deebo? Just to get cheaper? Because if he's a baller, you figure out a way to keep that guy on your team.
Well, I think it goes back to like Eric Armstead. Do they like Eric Armstead? I think they do. But you get to a price point that is, you know, is the juice worth the squeeze? Yeah. And moving forward, as I start to move my money around, you know, I can't just invest all in the downstairs bathroom. I only have so much money. I gotta put a little into some windows, and I gotta put a little into the closet or whatever. You know, I'm just trying to use the house analogy. Like if you only have 100% of the of working capital, you can't spend 95% of it on the basement. Right. You know, you got to have other rooms that you're taking care of. And so I think that they're looking at this and they're like, wow, we've got this big remodel of the kitchen, a.k.a. the Purdy contract, hovering over us. Maybe instead of doing, 80% of our investment into the basement, we're going to spread some of that money around and we'll do 40% in the basement. Because I'm looking at it right now, like they went from being one of the highest paid defensive lines in the league. They're still a high paid defensive line, depending on how you break down Bosa's money. But they have gotten cheaper there with the moving off of Eric Armstead's money, with the finally moving off of the D Ford money. Like all of those things are starting to become an adaptation. They're changing how they do business. And I do think that CMC is a great example of how they've changed how they've done business. Before, we could put anyone at running back.
Right.
Now, I'm not so sure they feel that way.
Yeah, well, Jeff Wilson or Elijah Mitchell got hurt in that first game against Chicago. They were like, oh, boy. Yeah, we need some explosiveness at the running back position. It was very apparent in week 1. Anyway, let's go to Big Al and Chico.